Hi, my name is AJ Sharon. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced. When I was a strapping young lad, I came into music and I was way out in the boonies. I had to learn everything by myself. These were the prehistoric days before the internet existed, before we even had personal computers, much less phones. And I spent a lot of time, thousands and thousands of hours, like so many others, trying to make it, trying developing myself as an artist, as a songwriter, trying to make my mark. Now, like I said, I was in the boonies. I played with pretty much everyone there was to play with in my area, and we couldn't actually even get a gig because there were like three clubs and they were all covers, and with a specific list of covers you had to play. Like my attitude toward covers, I don't mind other people's music at all, quite the contrary. But when I play someone else's song, I don't want to play it like they're playing it. I mean, 1,000 people have done that already. You don't need me to add to it. So that's why I always preferred playing my own music. So after a while, this was going nowhere, and I gave up. I sold all my gear. Luckily, I didn't throw away my songs. And I just thought I'm going to try and lead a respectable life, the 9 to 5. I even had the tie and everything, and my life just went downhill from there. It was so difficult, and really, really getting into really bad place. That's a lot of reallys, but it was really that bad. About 10 years later, I'm going home and I'm in Ottawa and I go by Steve's Music and I walk in. I take a 12-string guitar off the wall, start playing. I could remember how to play, I could remember the notes, the chords. I couldn't remember the notes to any song except one, Prelude number 1, which is on my brand new album by chance. And it felt so good. So I walked out of there with a guitar. I bought it. I paid for it, of course. So if there's anyone from Steve's Music watching, I didn't steal it. And that night I started writing songs again, and I never looked back from then on. Now I wanted to get better at guitar because I've never considered myself to be a particularly good player. Like I said, I'm self-taught, and the other thing was that as a songwriter, every time I try to practice the instrument within a minute or two, I'm finding something really fun, and I start writing. I'm not playing anymore. So I thought I'd give it a try and get better, and I found a really good website. And one day on the forums, there's this person who asked the question, "How do you write a song?" Oh, me, I got that, I know that. So I wrote about, I don't know, two, three paragraphs, four, five maybe, saying, well, blah, 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 this is how you do it. Very simple. Well, it's simple for me, I mean. So I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, yeah, maybe I'm missing a point or two. So I wrote the owner of the site and I said, "Hey, would you like to have an article on the subject? Would you be interested in publishing it if I wrote one?" Because I really, really, really hate writing. I mean, writing text, not writing songs. I hate writing text. I tried my hand at a novel once and it was terrible because the thing is, you see, by the time I'm writing on page 23 and my brain is on page 370, it's like, come on. So it's really a pain. So I thought if I'm going to write it, at least I want to know that it's going to be published. So we said, if it's good, I'll publish it, and you have to defend it. So I thought, 2, 3 pages that should do it, and we'll have the whole subject covered. So in the end, it ended up being like 7 pages. And when a flash of inspiration, back in those days, I was really terrible at titles, and I just had this flash. So you want to be a songwriter? I sent it in. It was published. In the end, it ended up on quite a bunch of websites, actually, after a while. I was told that it was translated. I know that it made it into print at least 3 times. Might have been more, but three that I know of. It was a very popular article. But still, some stuff was missing, so I wrote a second one, and then a third one, and then it became a regular thing. And all in all, I wrote a few hundred articles for that site and for a few others. Then I went back to my own career. I released 4 albums, 3 solo and one with my band God Inc. I worked a few years as an A&R for an independent label, so I learned a lot there from that aspect, the business aspect of it. And now I thought it's time to come back, update this whole series. So you want to be a songwriter and give it a better edge with more experience and behind the scenes knowledge. Update some of the things that I've learned more from then, since then, and give you a good series. And since it's on YouTube, it means I don't have to write. Woohoo! So this episode was simply a little bit of a presentation of what it's going to be. We're going to look at everything. We're going to look at inspiration. We're going to look at various recipes, formulas, but also we're going to go way outside of that too. How to follow your heart and what's behind the meaning of the lyrics, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're also going to spend, I'm thinking at this point, at least 2 episodes minimum on copyright, but there's also neighboring rights and all that. So there's going to be a few episodes on that because it's a very heavy subject. And one thing I learned by working at a label is that the vast majority of the people in the business have no idea how copyrights work. Makes the lawyers very happy, but this is something as a songwriter you need to know. You need to know this by heart. That's where the bread and butter is. That's where you're going to make your money. You really need to know how to protect yourself and how to go after somebody who's trying to rob you. So, yeah, at least 2 episodes on that. We'll have a lawyer, also an entertainment lawyer, one of the best in the business, is going to give us his own opinions on it. So until then, I'm going to leave you with 2 things for this week. Number 1, homework. Ooh. I remember back in school, first day, teacher gives us homework. I said, "Teach, why are you giving us homework?" He said, "Because I can, you know." Now, I'm not doing this because I can do it, because whether you do it or not, I'll never know, so it's irrelevant at this point. But it's something that's going to serve you in your songwriting a lot. Pay attention around you. Listen. Listen. With your family, with your friends, at work, on a bus, having lunch somewhere in public. Just listen. You don't have to even listen to what a conversation is about. You don't have to really be into people's personal affairs, but just listen to the words they're saying, the phrases, and you might come up with something really, really gorgeous. Stevie Nicks, she was talking to Tom Petty's wife, and she said, "Well, how long have you two been together?" And Tom Petty's wife, with her southern accent, which I won't try to imitate, I'm really bad at accents, but except for my own, that is. And she said, "Well, I've known Tom since the age of 17." And Stevie Nicks, she heard the edge of 17 rather than the age of 17, and we all know where that led. If you don't know that, then that's a second homework, and you have to go find out. Stevie Nicks, Edge of 17, look below. You need to know this. It's a classic. Now, so pay attention to what people are saying, and if you hear something like really good that really strikes your imagination, write it down somewhere and to remember it. And you might have a whole song out of a single sentence. Now, the second thing I'm going to leave you with is rule number 1. Rule number 1. Rule number 1 of songwriting. It's really the most important one we're going to be referring to with every single episode. So I suggest that you write this down. It's really, really important. Go ahead and get something to write with. I'll wait. I don't need to wait. You can just put it on pause, right? So, rule number 1, if you're all ready, There are no rules. There are formulas, but there are no rules. Anything you want, that goes. It's your creative imagination. We're going to go much deeper into that at another time. So for the moment, this is it, and we'll see you next week. Until then, well, peace and rock on.